Hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead. Today's podcast is a really different one. Myself and Ben are being interviewed by a long-term client of ours, Abby Davis, who's got a unique perspective, and she's listened to every single podcast episode of ours and been a client for a long time, and she thought listeners may be intrigued to find out more about us. From how we, as two men in our 30s, got into coaching women over 40 and around menopause, to where we grew up, how we met, our previous corporate careers, our mission with Trinity, and even our greatest struggles and regrets in life. We had no preparation as we thought it would be more interesting to be totally candid as a conversation, and nothing is cut out, so you get to hear it all. And I should say, Abby prepared, she has great questions, but myself and Ben did not get to see them beforehand, so it's totally candid. Now, we'll be back with the fitness tips and tricks for women over 40 from next week, but in the meantime, let's get straight into today's episode.
Right, so Ben and Rob, absolute joy to see both of you at the same time. So I started to do my homework and I started listening back to the recordings right from the beginning again. And it was really interesting. So things I know so far are that you met at university, I think.
Yep.
That's right.
That's correct.
You're both engineers by trade. And you both mentioned this, so I think it's okay for me to say that Ben worked for Triumph and Rob, you worked for McLaren.
Yeah.
Which you would have thought would have been somebody's dream job as an engineer graduate, but clearly not. So that was interesting. We lived together, I think, at uni, but also after uni.
Yeah, we lived in Bath for a couple of years together.
You both like food. You're both a sucker for a Domino's. Rob loves Jaffa cakes and CrossFit. Ben likes cars and loves climbing. And this is what I've gleaned so far. But what I really wanted to get into was, to begin with, was the kind of the origin story of Trinity. So I thought I'd start off with the question that you always use when you're interviewing people, Rob, which is, who are you and where do you come from? So I'll go to Ben first for the blind date question. So Ben, who are you and where do you come from?
I'm Ben Hughes. I come from Stafford originally, so it's kind of between Manchester and Birmingham. Yeah. What else would you like to know?
Okay, well, we'll start there. So Rob, what about you?
So I'm Rob Burkhead, and I'm from border of Berkshire, Buckinghamshire, and Oxfordshire. Sounds very posh. From a village called Hurley is where I was born. Well, I was born in Oxford, and then we moved when I was 2, and then I lived there pretty much my whole life growing up until university.
Okay, so what I want to know first of all is when and where do you first meet? I know it was university, but did your eyes meet across a crowded room, or were you in the gym together, or were you in the same lectures? How did that all happen?
It was in the same lab group, I think. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, we had some sort of lab group task to do and got put in the same group together. That was the first meeting.
Yeah, so we're building this bridge, I think. I remember it was me, you, and Adam. So this is another friend I'm still friends with. Building a bridge that had to get crushed, and I think our bridge did okay, but it didn't really blossom straight away as a friendship, did it? It was kind of like we had to be together. We got on fine. Adam's a bigger personality, I'd say. So he probably was kind of like the one getting all the attention at the beginning, and then Ben and I decided, I think it was the end of the year, to go. I had some golf clubs, and we decided to go and sneak onto the driving range, which was next to the uni ground. So Bath is on uni is on a hill next, and there's a golf club on the same hill. And I'd taken some of my dad's golf clubs for some reason. I thought this was a good idea to university with me. We don't play golf, in either of us. And then we decided to sneak onto the driving range at night, pick up some of the balls, and go and hit the balls. It was also this sounds like a drunk activity. This was a sober activity. And then that's kind of where we started getting to know each other a little bit more.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And so presumably fast forward a fair way from there, but what made you decide to set up a business together? How did you go from sneaking onto a golf course and playing golf to setting up a business?
There's quite a few steps there, I guess, aren't there, Ben? I would say it started with training separately in the gym. Like I was training and you were training, and I was going to the Bath Uni gym. I think we're both kind of, well, I'll answer for myself. I was very sort of weedy and kind of insecure about that. So I kind of dabbled in the gym, and then the Bath Uni is a very serious sports uni. So I got really into the gym on my own. And I think we converged. I don't know when did you start training, Ben?
First year. It was actually my girlfriend at the time broke up with me, and then I turned my breakup misery and I put it all towards the gym and got absolutely like well obsessed with it. And then I think was it in second year? No, I still went to a different gym to you in second year. I went to Fitness First, which was in town, which was different. So it must have been somehow we ended up living together though in third year. And then we got really like seriously into going to the gym and were absolutely obsessed with it and just trained with each other all the time in the gym. And then somehow from doing that, we decided to make some kind of blog about our workouts. I think we post, here's our workouts, here's what we're doing with food. Decided to start doing social media. Again, no idea why, no plan or direction for it to ever become a business. And then somehow, after gaining a few followers on Twitter, I think we saw some people who were making training plans and selling them online. And we thought we could probably do that. And then people started asking us, "Oh, could you train us? Could you make us a plan?" So then, before we knew it, we haven't actually at this point got any kind of qualifications in how to train people, but we're now giving people training plans and all sorts of stuff. And then from there, we kind of at some point decided to get more serious about it and turn it into a proper business.
So it's quite organic. Is that, they always say in things like writing your first novel or setting up a business, start with what you know. So you kind of did the work first, and then it grew from there. It's really interesting. So one of the things that I noticed was that the early podcast was sort of branded as the motivation masterclass, and now it's Fit Over 40. And there's some other changes. They were a lot more sweary in the early days. I don't know whether that's a choice to kind of rein that in. But because you're really polite now, but you were really, it just really makes me laugh. I love it. But those early ones, you were a lot more sweary. So I just wondered how many, and the daily emails. You used to send people daily emails. I mean, oh my God, that must have been so much work. That's insane. I don't know how you did that.
I still do.
Oh, do you?
I still do them every day, yeah.
Oh my.
For must be 6 years or something now. I must have sent like 2,000 plus of those.
That's insane.
But I enjoy it.
Oh, it's just
so
fun,
I keep doing it. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I was just I wondered about the sort of how many identities has Trinity had so far? How have you gone through this sort of branding process and ended up where you are now?
Again, it was quite a chaotic process, I would say, at first. It's a lot more stable now. So you heard the Sweary podcast, you heard the different names. We originally started as Train, Eat, Gain. I think that was just something, apologies if you can hear the dog barking, work from home, live. It always happens when you're recording something. So it started off being called Train, Eat, Gain. And that was our blog name on Tumblr, which was a platform that it hasn't really gone anywhere. And then on Twitter as well, like Ben said. Because that's what, now the postperson's pressing the doorbell. We'll leave it in. It's natural. So it started off with Train, Eat, Gain because that's kind of more what we identified with, because that's what we were really enjoying at university. So we love going to the gym, so training, eating good quality nutrition. And I would say we really threw ourselves into learning all of this stuff as well. So Ben made it sound like it's very casual, but I think anytime Ben gets into anything, especially both of us, but gets really into it, like read everything there was on the internet about exercise and nutrition and tried it all as well. But then we eventually realised, when we sort of started to turn it into a bit more of a business, that that we seem to get better results with the female clients we're working with, and they seem to be more receptive to coaching and wanted the help. Whereas the male people we're working with, we ran a lot of free challenges for a lot of years, and we got very few entries from men, and they didn't really ask anything throughout the challenge. Whereas the female clients we had, well, they weren't really clients because they weren't paying when we were doing these challenges, but we'd help them anyway. They would come to us with questions all the time. So we thought, okay, let's specialize. And we were also working with a mentor at the time. called Paul Mort. Some people may have heard of him, who is quite sweary. So I think we were kind of emulating him because we hadn't really built our own identity at this point. And he did a lot on mindset as well. So that's kind of where that kind of diverged, or went off a little bit off our kind of true path, I would say. So it started off as this brand, and then we thought, okay, we're only training women. And a few people started saying to us, I'm a bit concerned about this gain word. We meant it as in sort of either building muscle or growing in terms of your mindset. But a lot of women say, I don't want it. That's the last thing I want is gain. So we thought we need to rebrand. So I think it was about 2016 where we decided we kind of looked at everything we were doing. We had these PDF plans, and then we're sort of coaching people through them, that we need to kind of come up with a better product. We've always wanted to evolve things and make it better and better and better. And so I remember we sat in your parents' kitchen, Ben, and we had this massive, I think it was A2 or A3 pad, and we were coming up with all these ideas on it. And eventually, I don't know where from, we came up with Trinity as the name that we wanted to pick, because we wanted to focus on exercise, nutrition, and mindset. So 3 things. And then we were looking up what words can you come up with for 3 things. And it was Trinity. But there's a lot of churches and things called Trinity. So then we needed another word to go with it. And the next word that we've managed to come up with was transformation, because we want to transform people's lives, not just in terms of physical change, but mindset, in terms of confidence, in terms of like a full life transformation. So that was about 2016. But I think even between then and 2019, where we started the Fit Over 40 program, there was some difficult years. So we had a team in, I won't tell the full story, I'll let Ben tell it as well, but this is my perspective on it. We started growing as training game with the Trinity program. And we actually grew to a lot of clients. We had about 500 clients, because they were all coming off the back of Joe Wicks's program, because he didn't have this follow-on program. So we were kind of overwhelmed. I remember we'd have 200 or 300 check-ins a week each to answer on our own. We were really struggling. I remember one journey to see my grandma, who was not very well, in Norfolk, and my dad was driving, and the entire drive from my house to Norfolk, I was answering check-ins non-stop, furiously, with my same headphones on. Still wasn't done by the other end. I had RSI in my arms, and at some point we realized we needed to change that. So we changed the model a few times over the years, to cut a long story short, until 2019, where it's been the same ever since. It's like the past 4.5 years now.
Okay. So Ben, when you started out with this, you were working still full-time in your day job and doing these kind of shifts either end, because early podcasts, I know these things. That must have been exhausting. How did you sort of get to the tipping point where you kind of went, because that's a huge leap of faith to go from a presumably relatively secure job to being self-employed and entrepreneurial, and all the risks and rewards of that. How did you make that leap?
Oh, it's another chaotic part of the story where, because Rob and I were both working in those jobs. Rob quit his job after a very, very short period of time. So he already made the first leap to say, right, let's leave this stable job.
You made me an offer, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben made me an offer after 6 weeks. Well, within the first 6 weeks, I quit after 6 weeks of getting my graduate job at McLaren. Ben said, come and, do you want to do that, or do you want to try and get this business off the ground, and I'll pay you half my salary? That's what Ben said to me.
Oh my God. I mean, that really is a huge investment.
Yeah, so he sort of lived lived off the one half a salary each for a year, while Rob we'd wake up really early in the morning, do work on the business in the morning. I'd then go to work, come back from work on the business again all evening, as Rob's already been working on it all day, and then just do that probably 7 days a week, really. I think we might have even had weekends off, maybe.
Sometimes, I think.
Yeah. But then, so yeah, we did that. So it was kind of a sort of halfway house. But then it got to a point where I think the business, it must have been showing some promise, or I can't imagine I would have just decided to fully leave my job at that point. But I remember looking at what we were thinking of, the options of what we could do, and we realized we could only really live abroad somewhere on however much the business was making. So then at that point, we both moved to Croatia for a short period of time, which was cool. It was nice for a couple of months. And then, it's one of those things. I think my thought process really was, if I'm going to quit my career and try and run a business, it's better to do it now. Better to do it when I can't remember how old that was now, 23, 24. And I haven't got many responsibilities and not got much going on, than to wait until, I've got a mortgage or something like that and I can't really take that risk anymore. So my thought, it was really, let's give this a go. And then if this doesn't work, I'll just go and find another job in engineering, which I think would have been fairly all right, really. Fairly easy.
And I'm assuming that you don't look back on any of that with any regrets. Bit of a loaded question. This is not the time suddenly go, well, do you know what, actually?
Not now.
Good. And so one of the things, because Rob, you were saying about how it was the women who were sort of more responsive to the training and more kind of engaged. And this was another question, because there you were, two young men in your early 20s, from a very male-oriented background of engineering. And I imagine at that time, potentially the whole kind of gym environment was much more kind of male-friendly or less female-friendly than they are now. And yet you decided that you were going to set up not only a business that targeted women, but targeted menopausal women. So it's like, how far from you could you get? Well, that's quite a long way. You were 9 women. It's certainly not menopausal. How did that come about? Where did that come from?
It wasn't like as you can tell from this story, it was all quite an organic process. So it wasn't like, we're going to target menopausal women because that's a niche that's under tapped, although it was at the time. It's much more kind of saturated now. But it was this journey of, okay, we worked with this mentor, Paul Moore, the sweary one, and he said, you need to target male and women, because the marketing message you put out and everything inside your program is not going to relate to both people. And I think as much as it'd be nice to say people will respond the same way, like, you need to use completely different language to either market someone or to motivate them as well. Like the things I talk to clients about every single week inside Trinity, even now, is, if I said the same thing to a man, it would not be the same kind of conversation. And it's also very hard to build a community that's mixed, because, as you will know, talking about difficult problems, let's say menopausal problems, can be scary at the best of times. And then if there's a load of men in the community, that doesn't work so well. So it slowly evolved over time. So it was women only, but all age ranges. And I'd say it was probably skewed slightly younger when we were younger. So they were still a bit older than us. I don't know why that happened, but they were still sort of age 30 to 40, I would say, maybe. And then there was a few who were 40 to 50, and then a few who were a bit younger as well when we were in our mid-20s. And then over time, I think it kind of got a little bit older. And then the thing that really stood out to us was the people who were in their 40s and 50s, and we actually had a client in their 60s as well, was saying, like, nothing else has worked for me. This is the first time in ages anything has worked for me, and anything has got good results for me. And I think eventually we kind of heard that enough to go, okay, that is something that, an area that really needs help. And again, there's so many people online trying to sell fitness things. We realized we probably need to niche down more anyway. So we need to pick a smaller target, market ultimately to work with, who we can really specialize in, and then we can create a really good product for that target market. And I remember it was another one of these moments. I don't know where it was, Ben. I think throughout that journey, there were many times where we had to leave wherever we were living and move back home to our parents. It was probably one of those times. We were back home at like 28 with our parents because we'd run out of money. And Ben came up with this fit over 40 concept. I think I'd just left London, and you're going, okay, fit over 40 is what we're going to target. It wasn't just about menopause. And I think at the time, we hadn't fully comprehended that menopausal changes happen that early for people. So that's why it was called Fit Over 40, not anything with menopause in the name. But what we've found was we got really, really good results with those people. And the minute we put that out there as like something on social media for people to kind of put their hand up and say, I'm interested in it. We got a crazy amount of interest as well. So it was like, okay, this is something people really, really need. I remember we were doing 7 or 8 sales phone calls effectively, like consults with people a day each. I was in my parents' garden. I remember, it's about 7 or 8 hours a day on top of coaching people again. So I think we have a strong work ethic, I guess, now I'm reflecting on this. But it was a nice summer. I remember when we had put that out there, I had to have my AirPods in. I would just sit there. I'd phone people all day, speak to them, they'd sign up to the program and then continue. And we went again there was a point where we had about £1. This is sounds like one of those joke stories, but there was a point where we had to fire a whole team about 6 or 7 years ago. We had about £1 in the bank account once we'd paid off all of our VAT debt and things like that. And then it was really nice to see finally we found something that's kind of helping people and also works as a business, that you don't have to move home with your parents every 3 years because it falls to pieces.
Yeah, that's probably a good marker of success there. Can you live independently? Yes or no? So Ben, what do your family think about the fact that your career is now, having gone from working for, an internationally renowned firm to basically devoting your life to helping menopausal women lose weight?
I think they're quite sort of proud and supportive now. But at the time where I was saying I'm going to leave my career that I've just spent 5 years studying for at university and I'm going to run this business, they were kind of like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Have you really thought this through? Maybe you should. So they definitely didn't think it was the greatest idea initially. But now, yeah, they're definitely they've seen that we've been running it for 10 years or however long now, and it's still managing to work. So yeah, I think they're quite happy with it now, quite supportive.
Do any of them ever ask you for advice if they're in your kind of target?
Not at all.
Right, okay. So there's a complete separation between home you and the work you.
Yeah, I think it's just my mum as a person is she doesn't tend to ask anyone for advice. She's kind of she's very headstrong in what she thinks. She's very sort of strong in her beliefs with things. So she's more likely, if let's say me and Rob were at my parents' house, my mum she'd tell us what we should do in the business. She'd be the one giving us advice the whole time rather than the other way around.
Okay. Not the other way around.
Yeah.
What about you, Rob? How are your family about all these mad decisions that you made that turned out to be quite sensible in the end?
Yeah, in retrospect, they handled it very well. So I recently got married, as you know, and I did tell them, specifically in the speech, thank you basically for being so understanding of all the, I was coming home again and then I'll go off. I think I'm self-sufficient now and then I come home again. It sounds like this has been a lot better recently, but there was a few years where it was really chaotic. But they, I think they're a little bit different from Ben's family. And maybe this helped with my decision because my dad's always, well, not always, but most of my life, I think the whole time I've been around, worked for himself. So he makes TV programs for BBC, and so I've seen him be self-employed. I've also seen him be sat working from his chair in the living room. There was a lot of years where he's traveling a lot, but then after this, sort of for my teenage life, a lot of the time he'd be at home and then he'd go cycling in the middle of the day and then he'd be working on his laptop. He'd get up really early, but he'd kind of do his day how he wanted to, and I kind of saw that. And then when I got into my office job at McLaren, which sounds really glamorous, but it's effectively a job in an office working at a computer, pre-COVID, remember, she had to go in the office every day, commute around the M25. I was like, I cannot do that. I cannot, I know there's another way because I've seen what my dad was doing. And I remember having a conversation with my dad saying, I think I said, look, Ben's offered me this thing to do half my salary. I think I want to do it. And he just said, have a think about it. It's a big decision, but you can do what you want. And, we'll obviously support you. I think he probably realised, like Ben said, it was fairly low risk at that age and he could see we really wanted to do it. And for the whole second half of our degree, we were obsessed with, it wasn't really a business, but putting out this fitness content. We were making recipe books, we were making the best possible thing we could. We were obsessed with that. And then just trying to get through the degree was the thing on the side. So I think he'd seen some of that. So they were very understanding. And my mum just encourages me. But I'm very lucky again with whatever I'm doing. She doesn't really get involved with an opinion. But yeah, they've always been very open to it. And when I've come home again, they've just said, like, you can have your room back again. We'll leave you to do your work. And I think, yeah, luckily they've not been too doubtful. So I know a lot of people I've spoken to who really wanted to set up businesses have had parents who've said, who've been in secure sort of jobs and said, I don't think you should do that, and really kind of stop them pursuing it.
So a classic question, but what do you wish you'd known before you started? So Ben first. Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Oh, what do I wish I'd known before we'd started? I'm not sure. I think actually it was almost good that we didn't know too much, because if you told me to go back and say, do this whole thing all over again, now knowing how much hard work it is and how much stress and effort it was, I'm not sure I'd be able to do it. I think we thought we'd easily pull it off. We'd be like, oh, this will be fine. So therefore we decided, oh, we'll just, quit our jobs and set this thing up and it'll all work fine. But then the amount of hard work and almost near disasters multiple times that it's taken to get to this point. If there was something that we had known, had wanted to know, I think it would have been if we'd done one thing different, it would be to actually focus on helping one group of people earlier. Because I think that was kind of a real turning point, where as soon as we started working with women over 40, everything was easier, from like getting new clients, and then when clients came in, everything, we could just specialize everything to that one group of people. We started getting better results. Like that was really the kind of catalyst for it to go from being okay to being more successful, I think.
Brilliant. You have masterfully anticipated my next question. So Rob, you can have them as a bundle. Would you do it all again? And what would you do differently?
It's really hard, like Ben said. I think we needed to have all of those difficult moments to kind of get us to the point where we are now, where I'd say we're pretty confident. Obviously, you never know what's coming around the corner at running a business from the business perspective and from a coaching perspective and everything. There was a really tough moment where I think it was 2016-17. Like I said, we had 500 clients, things were flying, but we were really clueless in a lot of areas, and we didn't realize, but I think we were young and naive. So it'd be very hard to go back and do it again in the same way, but we wouldn't. Where we'd hired 2 people when we only really needed 1 in retrospect. We were paying them probably more than they needed to be paid. We also had this great idea that actually we don't think people should work more than 6 hours a day. So we put them on like this really short contract for how much they were being paid, because we wanted to create this sort of utopia. We got an office in the centre of Bath, which we didn't need. We're a remote company, but we thought, well, to be a proper business and probably to kind of, try and prove to people we'd been successful. I think there was a lot of that at that point. We had to get an office to show that we were successful. And then 18 months later, we had to fire everyone, get rid of everyone, because we had this big tax bill come in that I didn't anticipate, and a big VAT bill, but I didn't really know how VAT worked. I thought it worked on profit, not on revenue. So you lose 20% of everything you make after the VAT threshold. So we had about 30 grand VAT bill, and we didn't have 30 grand to pay, on top of a 30 grand corporation tax bill and an office and 2 staff that we didn't really need all of, and we're paying other people too much. We kind of, our naivety got the better of us. I wouldn't say people took advantage of us. We were just stupid. And but that was a very important lesson, because it really hurt. I think for about a year, I was like blaming the government for it and everything. And we did keep chipping away, but like, it was a really, really important lesson to go, you need to have a handle on your finances. You need to understand how tax works. You need to really, really, quickly react if things are going wrong, whether it is, we haven't had to do it since, luckily, but reducing your team size or not scaling it as quickly, or making sure you've got cash saved as well. So there was a lot of important lessons through that, and we really, really had a tough time through that. So I hope Ben doesn't mind me mentioning, I was working, we didn't get paid for 9 months. So I had to work for a company that I worked for when I was at uni I was teaching about 10 children on this massive sort of matrix style computer screen rig in my flat, where I had like 10 screens. I'd teach non-stop on a Saturday, computer lessons for basically minimum wage to remotely to children who really didn't want to be doing it, which was a fairly miserable job. Ben was working for Domino's Pizza. So we had an event where we were running with clients where they paid a reasonable amount and we were still trying to run a really good event at Hawcross Hall, so it looked nice, but we had to hide Ben's uniform in his car because we were taking them somewhere in the car, and he had this Domino's uniform in the back. This is the level of at points, but I think that you have to go through those lessons, right, to realize you can really mess up, but I really don't think I'd do anything differently, because I think you had to learn. I think the only one thing actually that I thought of when Ben was speaking was I would phone people sooner. So we did many years. I've always had a bit of a fear of phoning people. I don't know why. I don't think Ben has, but we did everything through email. So like telling people about the program, trying to get them to sign up for years and years. And I think it really limited how quickly we learned stuff, because when you speak to someone in a proper conversation, you pick up on so many little things. And we did start doing that in 2019. As I said, we phoned people all day. And we so quickly learned, this is what people need. This is what they're struggling with. This is what kind of the overall consensus is. Whereas through email, you don't really get that. So I think the one thing I would change is get over that fear of phoning people. And I literally remember as a child, my parents being like, you're going to phone that person, speak to them. And I'd put it off for as long as possible. I'd hate it. I'm like, my heart be racing when I pick up the phone. And I still get that to a degree. I really don't know why that's come from. But I really love conversations with clients now. They're some of the most rewarding parts of my week is speaking to people on the phone, but I would have phoned people earlier because you just learn so much more and you can connect with people so much better than just communicating through some sort of email or chat.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, one of the things I know we talked about is that one of the things I think that's so good about Trinity is the connections that you enable people to form with their coaches, particularly, which leads me on neatly to your coaches, who are spectacular human beings. Really just amazing people. I mean, I've only really kind of had dealings with a couple of them just because Laura is my coach, and then sometimes Danny covers for her. But I know she's great too. And I know from the chat and WhatsApp that everybody just thinks their coaches are the most fabulous people alive. So how do you go about finding your coaches? How do you know when somebody's got what it takes to be a Trinity coach? What does it take to be a Trinity coach? All the questions, all bundled up. Answer whatever you like. But yeah, who are these amazing super beings, and how do you find them? And what is it? What do you put them through to make sure that they are the right people?
I guess I'm probably best answering this because we're doing it right now. And just for context, Ben is head of sales and marketing, and then I'm head of fulfillment, which is coaching and product. So I think those are our two sort of areas of speciality. And we're hiring right now. So I think this is what I've also been told by the coaches. It's just we have a very, very thorough hiring process, which we did learn through one of the many mentors we worked with, through a company called eMyth, which is really good, we do a short interview process, which we did on Tuesday, where we take the best applicants and we do 10-minute interviews with about 20 people in a day. So you get to speak to a lot of people. And prior to that, we had about 600 applicants for one coaching position. So we first vet all of those. So it's just about getting the quantities in. So we put out a job advert, we get about 600 applicants. This is the most ever. Then we ask them all a series of questions. If any of the responses are not good enough, so if the punctuation is bad, I'm a real stickler for this. So unfortunately, you're gone. Because this is the best, like people are putting their best foot forward in an interview process, right? If that's their best and it's not very good, you can only imagine 6 months into a job when they're a bit tired, what that's going to be like. So we're quite cutthroat with it. So we'll cut them down and then we'll interview about 20 for a short interview for 10 minutes, because you can get a very quick feel for if someone, I personally think anyway, if they're going to be able to connect with the client or not. Because if they can't connect with you in 10 minutes, or they're chaotic, or they give you a bit of a funny feel, like they put you on edge, none of that's going to work. So we just very quickly just go no again. So it's about finding loads of no's, which sounds hard. I'm just looking at I've still got all the paperwork there. So we do the same process for everyone. I've got 3 questions we ask them, and then based off that, we then do an assessment. So then they reply to some coaching questions, some typical things we'll have. And then we narrow it down even more. So now we've gone from 600 to 20 odd to 5 to 4. And then we've got 4 long interviews next week where we'll speak to them for about 45 minutes to an hour, with a load more questions that are kind of based on our values. So we have our company values, balance, excellence, growth and dependability. And we'll ask them a load of contextual questions to see how they align. And we'll also ask CV-based questions to see how, what their long-term career plans are as well. Because we don't really want anyone who's just coming in for a short term. We want people who are in it for the long term, in it for the right reasons. And then we'll make them an offer. And then hopefully you'll get a great coach. I would say we have had one which wasn't as good. And that was when we were rushing hiring. Again, rushing, it never really works when we were just a bit overwhelmed with numbers. But it was at the same time we hired Laura, who you know is amazing. So we did get one out of the 2 right. But now we've realised we just hire a lot more in advance to avoid that happening. And we've got a really good team now.
How big is your team?
So we have 6 coaches, including Dave, who is their manager. So he's the coaching team leader. 12 people total, if you include B and Ben, and people who are part-time as well. So we have Kath, who does our admin, who kind of helps organise me and Ben. We have Yaz and Lewis, who are sort of membership advisors, who speak to people before they join. We have Declan, who does our social media contents, the stuff you see going out there. He edits all of that. He'll be editing this. And then we have Danny, Simone, Natasha, and Kate, who are coaches, and Laura, obviously. And then we have Dave, who manages them, and me and Ben. I think that's everyone. I missed anyone, Ben?
Kath, who does admin for us.
Kath.
Oh, you already said Kath. That's it then. That's the whole team, yeah.
Keeps you both organised. Yeah. Well, so you went from 2 to 4, and then to 2, and now you've ended up with 12. So that's quite a growth over time. So Ben, with the marketing, so you've ended up with what is it that you are? Marketing
yeah.
and marketing, right? So how have you ended up with that gig? Is this was this an organic kind of division of labour? Is this you playing to your strengths, or is it just doing the things that Rob can't stand, or have you got a natural flair for marketing? How has this shaken out?
I'd probably say it's just sort of gravitated to, like everything in the whole, as you'll probably have grasped from what we do, it's organically somehow become that way. I think one thing is I was doing most of the daily email marketing, that sort of stuff, and creating sales pages and things like that. And I think in terms of the coaching side of things, when me and Rob used to do all of the coaching, and then we started tracking sort of performance in coaching, Rob, in terms of numbers, is just a better coach than I am. Basically, he gets better results in terms of the coaching side of things. Therefore, it just made sense for him to be the head of coaching. And I think one of the best things we've done in the business is to hire coaches who are, well, actually, they outperform both me and Rob. So all of our coaches are better coaches than we can be, because I think, fundamentally, me and Rob are, although we're not working in engineering, we love the spreadsheets and the numbers and the data and all of that sort of stuff. We're not so good at, and we hire coaches and our membership advisors and everything as well. They were really good kind of people persons who are very, they're just better at working with people and better at coaching than us. But yeah, Rob sort of ended up with the coaching side of things, and then just naturally, then I'm kind of do the marketing and sales, and then there is a bit of stuff that we share, which is kind of all the boring kind of technical behind the scenes stuff. That's we still kind of hold on to doing that, and I think as when we speak to a lot of other kind of fitness businesses, one of the first things that other people tend to do is they'll hire some kind of a tech person to like make their website and sort their memberships out and everything like that. But I think because we've got that engineering background, for some reason, we just keep holding on to all of that sort of stuff, which is quite handy, really.
Yeah, I noticed it's always you're always very responsive when people go, oh, the website's down, I can't do a workout. And there'll be like an instant message from Rob going, fixing it now. And I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing how they're doing that. But it's because you're engineers and that's what you do. Do you miss sort of being kind of at the coalface? Do you miss the kind of, because you were coaching, you had the day-to-day interaction with clients. I know, Rob, you still have interaction because of the the podcasts and stuff. And Ben, obviously, you're busy firing out emails every day to people I didn't even know. How do I get onto that list? But do you miss that kind of the fact that it was you doing the stuff and now you're kind of getting effectively sort of further away from it? Or are you still quite hands-on, just not at the same level?
I don't know, who should I go first? I'll go first on this one. I think I would miss it if I didn't speak to anyone. So I really enjoy, the podcast interviews. So I've interviewed you before, obviously. We speak to clients after 4 weeks as well. So me and Ben have that conversation. And personally, for me, I really do still like that to make sure everything's going okay. Obviously, it gives you a bit of certainty of, their coach is doing a great job. They've said they're doing really well. They're getting good results. It keeps you in touch with them. But I think after 10 years, and then you've heard some of the quantities we had of people we're speaking to, I couldn't tell you how many check-ins that we've replied to over the years. It must be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. I would be lying if I said I missed that, because at the beginning, you get a lot of very similar struggles and questions. And again, at the beginning, loved it. After 10 years, you kind of see the same thing. I think for both of us, we're very growth orientated. I get kind of bored quite quickly with the same thing. I think this is the engineer again. We want to make things more efficient and more automatic. And so that's why the coaches have been amazing at coming in and with, being fresher into it, but also being more people, and saying they don't necessarily get tired from that. Whereas actually we quite like looking at a spreadsheet and then looking at the numbers and correlating the data and going, it's all trending in the right direction. So I think, and this is one of the reasons I think we did split our tasks the way we did, is I'm a little bit more people and product focused, I would say. It's probably why, as Ben said, I probably have slightly better results in coaching, but again, we're still quite similar. And then Ben is a little bit more task oriented, so he can do those marketing tasks, which are often data analysis again and innovating, and it kind of works quite well. And I think I personally like to see things evolving, but the thing I find most rewarding of all, just to bring it back to coaching, is the weekly coaching call. So we have that coaching call on Tuesday night. For people who are listening, this is a group session with as many clients who want to come on as possible. And myself and Ben alternate usually week to week. And I really love that, because you're helping lots of people, but it's in an efficient way because you're doing it to a group, and you can coach differently to a group. So one-to-one, you need to be very empathetic. You need to be listening. This sounds bad. This sounds like a very male way of looking at it. But when you're coaching to a group, we ask the coaches, what are people struggling with this week? So I know what the struggles are. I know also the context of the time. Is it Christmas? Is it Easter? Is it summer holidays? I can then get to the root of it but you can kind of be a little bit more firm, because you're not directing at anyone. So no one's going to be personally offended. You can say, this is the challenge we've got at the moment. These are the reasons why. These are the kind of mindsets or stories that you'll be telling yourself right now, which we all get. And then here are the ways you can kind of fix that, and then they can go away and do it. So I really enjoy that, because you're helping 20, 50 people at once, and you can coach them in a little bit of a different way. So I personally say I don't miss one-to-one coaching people every single week, just because we've done it for 10 years and I want to help people on a grander scale. But I do love the group coaching. I don't see us dropping that anytime soon.
Cool. What about you, Ben?
I quite like the way it is. I think because the coaches they do such a good job. It's almost like, if I wanted to decorate a room in my house, I know I could do it myself, but my skills at decorating are not absolutely amazing. So I could do it myself. There'd be some sort of end result, and I'd be kind of probably looking at it thinking, oh, it's all right. Could have been done better. But I guess because me and Rob have overall, well, more Rob, but we've put this system and this process together in the program and everything like that. And then it'd be like you get a really good decorator in, which is kind of like us getting our coaches in. They do a really good job. But then when you look at the end result, you're even more happy with the end result, even though you kind of haven't done all of the actual painting yourself. You're kind of thankful that someone else has been able to do such an amazing job of it. There was something else I was going to say. I completely forgotten what it was. No, completely forgotten. But essentially, yeah, I think that the best thing. It's just really good. Like, I really like I really enjoy I like all of our team members. I like how good they are with the coaching side of things. And like Rob said as well, at the moment we still do those kind of week 4 calls with clients. And I think I think we have to, no matter what stage we get to, I think it would be really difficult because we could step away from all of that sort of stuff. We could step away from doing the Tuesday night coaching call or from the one-to-one calls with clients after the 4 weeks. But I think there would be a point where you do kind of lose touch, because I think it's really important still to hear, like, firsthand from clients, what they're struggling with, what they're happy with in terms of the program. And I'll notice, sometimes people they'll mention something, and we'll always kind of ask, are you getting everything you need from us at the moment? Is there anything that we can improve, etc.? So I think it's really good to sort of keep your finger on the pulse there, because I think, yeah, otherwise I think we would just kind of lose touch ultimately.
I think it's a really sound decision, because it does keep you grounded in what people are experiencing, and you don't get too complacent about, well, we already know everything anyone's going to say. And it does give you that personal connection. I mean, I remember my 4-week call with you, Ben. I remember when I got a postcard from you, Rob, at the end of my first 12 weeks saying, congratulations, you've done amazingly. And just that little personal connection, because I think in business, there's this thing about, it doesn't matter what you're selling, people buy you. They don't buy the product, they buy you. And so when we see, you both, or we hear you on the podcast, and we see Rob's thing on Facebook about, is this you standing in front of a wardrobe full of clothes you can't wear and blah, blah, blah. You are the faces of Trinity, much more so than the coaches, because we never really get to see them face to face. So having that connection with you, that personal connection, however sort of infrequently, but it's there, and it's, you're still doing the podcast, you're still doing the coaching calls, it's you're not some sort of faceless disappearing behind the Trinity brand. So I think that's a real strength. So I'm kind of pleased that you want to keep doing it. I have to ask, how do you come up with, and this is definitely one for you, Ben, with your 6,000 emails. I know I'm obsessing about this, but I'm obsessed. I just don't know how you're doing that. How do you come up with fresh content? I know there's a certain element of recycling, because people, summer holidays come around and Christmas eating comes around. And so you can kind of presumably, not to be unkind, but to recycle a lot of the things that you've said in the past to people at those times. But it still feels like there's new stuff. I watched, Laura sent me a link for a coaching call that you did, Ben, recently, about sort of reframing your goals once you've made a certain amount of progress and you're too far away from the fire to feel like you have to get away from the fire. Really helpful. And I hadn't seen that, and I've watched them all. I hadn't seen that before. So how do you generate all this content? How do you keep it fresh?
I think, as you say, there is definitely a certain element of recycling content. I think that one of the main reasons for that is because there's only sort of so many things that you need in order to succeed with whatever it is, with the nutrition, the workouts, etc. Marketing wise, I think it's just, I always imagine, if I'm writing emails or whatever content it is, that I'm sat down in front of our ideal client, or I'm writing them. I always imagine I'm writing personally to one person. I'm like, what would this person want or need to know? And we have, for everything, just, I think, again, it's the engineer sort of organization way of doing it. We have a plan for everything. So with our content and the marketing and stuff, every week we sit down and we come up with a plan, and we decide what topics we're going to do on which days, and plan a couple of weeks ahead. And with the emails, I've got sort of a structure where, one day might be a client case study, and one day might be, I'll give something away for free, and one day will be like some teaching content. But I think it's, I think it's just knowing that person. And a lot of the content we generate comes from, as Rob was saying, like, sometimes we'll ask the coaches, what are people struggling with? What questions are you getting at the moment? And then we'll just kind of create content based on what people are struggling with and what questions people are asking. Or if somebody asks a question on social media, Rob might then create a video based on that. Or if someone replies to one of my emails, I'll create content on that. So if I notice, a lot of people are saying to me, because every so often on an email, I might ask, ask a question that people actually reply to, like, what's your biggest struggle at the moment when it comes to seeing results with your fitness? And if I notice a lot of people are coming and saying, well, I'm struggling with motivation or whatever it is, then we could write content on that. But I'd say by far the biggest thing, marketing wise, is we hear kind of the same story over and over again, which is that people they've tried all the things that they're used to do. So all the things that used to work in their 20s or 30s that they saw amazing results with in the past, whether that's slimming groups or gym classes or whatever it is. But then since getting a bit older, they're doing the same thing, but they're just not seeing the results in the mirror. And that's kind of that number one frustration is, and that will be kind of our ideal client, the person who they're putting in the effort, they're really trying really hard, but they're not seeing the results from that. So then just knowing that that's the person that we're going to help, it's quite easy to just keep coming up with stuff, just thinking, right, what would that person need to know to really kind of help them out? Either, number one, help them out with deciding to get help and get some coaching and get some support from us, which is ideally what we'd like and what's going to work really well for them. Or once they're inside the program, I know a lot of the content in the program that Rob's put together, things come at different points. So there'll be certain videos, there's a certain video at week 3, a certain video at week 4. And a lot of that's based on looking at what questions do people ask at week 3, what questions do people ask at week 4, and then trying to preempt everything that people are going to ask with a video or a piece of content.
That helps a lot, because I was finding it almost eerie, the fact that every time I hit a certain point in the program and I was sort of going to Laura, suddenly, as if by magic, there would be a coaching call about it, or there would be, the video the next week would cover, and I'd be sitting there going, yeah, that's it. That's exactly the thing that I'm going through at the moment. So now I feel a bit safer in that you're not inside my head. So that's good. It's nice to know. But it just shows how responsive the program is as well, that this is not a kind of cookie cutter, one size fits all, no pun intended, kind of deal, because you are so responsive to individuals' kind of struggles and battles and hurdles. And that I think is again probably one of the secrets of your success. Not that it's a secret, but you know what I mean. So what's the best or the most rewarding thing about what you do, Rob?
It's going to be cliched, I think, but it's got to be, it's helping people in 2 different ways. So it's speaking to the clients, and this is an interesting question actually, because we are on track for like the original business goal we set. So our original business goal, I think we can say this publicly, was £1 million revenue, because it's this like £1 million thing. It's just like, it's always the thing that everyone says they want to do.
The Holy Grail.
And we're on track to do that this year, or if we don't, we're very, very, very close, but I think we'll do it. Nothing's really changed there. It's quite weird. There's kind of a massive anticlimax every time you hit those goals. But the one thing that does keep you going is when you speak to someone and they say, like, again, maybe it's an ego thing, but after 4 weeks, I've literally had some calls this week and I was feeling a bit low. We'd done this massive Welsh 3000 hike. I was exhausted. And then someone's saying, I feel so much better. Like, my energy so much better. My mood so much better. I'm so thankful I found this. And that, I think that still is, that's why I think I would struggle to let go of that stuff. So it's that, or doing the group calls. Like I did a group call last night for the step challenge we got on, and everyone's saying, thank you so much for putting it together. So maybe it's an ego thing, but it's hearing that. I think we both do need some validation. I don't know if Ben would agree, but that's, I think, why we got into the gym in the first place, because we weren't getting the validation we wanted from girls when we were younger and things like that. So I think it's getting some of that. But knowing, obviously, you're helping people, I think the reason I struggle in engineering, probably similar for Ben, was like, even though I love cars and I was in the car company, it should be the dream, there was no real validation. If I did a great job, I did actually a bad job of a lot of my work, because I was doing all the Trinity stuff on my computer at work, which I shouldn't have been. And I still got told I did a good job, and that didn't sit well with me at all. I was like, if I'm being told I'm doing well and I'm doing what I think is pretty, mediocre, low effort, then this is not for me. Like, I think I need that feedback. So for me, it's getting that feedback. I think that we're doing a good job, and it's continuing to help people. And then the other one is helping the team as well. So again, it really upsets me if a team member has kind of rated. So we did rate everything, like rated how they're enjoying their job really low. Occasionally we've had that where it's come down from like 9, 10 out of 10 to like 7 or 6 even. And I'm like, okay, this is a serious issue. We need to really deal with this, because it's really rewarding to be able to give coaches, which is usually a very unstable job, where there's no certainty, you don't get any benefits, you've got to work 4 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night. It's really rewarding to give those people a career as well in something they want to do, and to see them enjoying it, to take them on retreats and things like that. And you know, maybe again, that sounds a bit self-indulgent saying we've done that for them. It's not like about that, but it's about creating that team and like having our team socials and being like, this is weird. Like we've brought this group together. It's quite cool. It's still surreal to me.
That's really cool though. I like it. What about you, Ben? What's the most rewarding thing or the best thing about what you do?
I'd say, yeah, echoing what Rob said, it's the helping people, knowing that you're making a difference to people and in people's lives. And I think when we first started, that was always kind of the main thing. Like we set out, we did a lot of free challenges and things like that. And I mean, I don't know, even doing those free challenges, that was really kind of rewarding, helping people and seeing their results and helping them transform their lives and things like that. And I think it helped, having me and Rob both gone through our own sort of fitness journey of like learning how to be fit and healthy and improving our physiques and getting stronger and that kind of stuff ourselves, and knowing how much better you feel when you're seeing that regular progress every week. You feel like you're getting better, you feel like you're improving, and it kind of improves everything else in your life and sort of lifts everything else in your life. You feel capable, because you feel like, if I can do that, if I can improve that thing, then I can also go and do that. And it kind of gives you confidence to do other things. So it's just knowing that we're giving people that same sort of feeling. And I think, yeah, whether it's us doing it personally or just doing it as a business, it's kind of just as rewarding, really. So that would be the first thing. And then also, I think just the amount of kind of problem solving that there is to running a business is also very rewarding to me. So it's really kind of rewarding whenever me and Rob get together, we come up with kind of, here's the vision of what we want to create, whether it's we want to have more sort of work-life balance, or grow the team, or help more people, or whatever it is, or improve an element of what we do, like improve the social media or run a retreat, whatever it is. It's that process of kind of coming up with those ideas together, and then seeing that go from just an idea, an abstract sort of concept, to then becoming something in real life, where we've got a couple more team members that are on board, and they're in this sort of rewarding job that we've created for them, and then the clients that they're coaching are all happy with the results and things like that. So it's that, I think that creative element of it is also really exciting, and being able to constantly do new and different things, rather than kind of comparing it to my Domino's pizza job. As much as I did really enjoy that job, to be fair, but that way it was just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So after a few months, it was a bit boring. But in this role, it's like, you can be really creative and kind of innovate, and you have to come up with solutions to. Although it's annoying when there are problems, like things don't work, you've also got problems to solve, and I think I really enjoy having problems to solve and having things to work on.
Cool. I love the fact that you clearly kind of live the Trinity values, because this is, you both do, when you decide you need to, you both do tracking, or you both set yourself goals all the time and you work towards them, and it's very sort of in keeping with the whole ethos. And again, it's that kind of personal investment. It's like it's you doing the workout videos or the coaches, and it's just so kind of authentic, and I think that's great. I'm really conscious of time. I have so many more questions, but I guess I'm going to have to just sit on some of them, and maybe we'll do it all again another time. So I've got a quick fire round. So you can take it in turns. So, Rob, if you could only eat one food or meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
This is a really hard one. I've always thought about this. I think I'll go some sort of Asian food. I love Asian flavors, whether it's Thai, whether it's Indian. I think it's got to be some sort of. Then weighing up the health benefits of it as well. Now, like, is this a healthy decision? I've also got to still be fit and healthy and train. I think authentic Thai food, as long as you don't add too much sugar to it, it's good. I'll go Thai.
Okay. Ben, different question, but similar. If you could choose one food item you could eat as much of as you want and it would have no negative consequences, what would it be? So, Rob, you missed out because you could have had unlimited Thai food with no negative consequences. Oh. Ben, what have you got?
That's a really good question. It's almost too difficult to answer. I can eat anything as much as I want with no negative consequences.
Yeah, you've got to pick one thing. So whether it's pizza or it's Thai or it's Jaffa cakes or whatever it is, you can have as much as you want, and it's not going to make any difference to the scales or have any. I
think I'll go pizza. Yeah, that'll be the one for me.
Sensible man. I think that's one. Yeah, fair enough. Of all the list workouts, Rob, that you do, what's your favourite move?
It's got to be a deadlift because I have really long arms like an orangutan. So does Ben, actually. So it's probably, well, I don't know if it's still his favourite, but yeah, it's because it's also the thing I can lift the most at. So this year I hit a 200 kilo deadlift, which was something I've wanted for years and years and years. I think Ben probably did it about age 21. It took me about 12, 13 more years to do it. But I'll pick a deadlift because it suits my body type and shape.
Are you sure your arms were that length when you started? Have they not just become that way over time? Ben, what's your least favourite move in the gym?
Deadlift. Only because when I did my 200 kilo deadlift, it gave me years of back problems. I definitely injured myself doing it. So Rob's done it in a safe and correct way, and I just did it in a reckless 21-year-old way.
Brilliant, love it. Okay, Rob, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, these are good questions. I think I'm actually going to spin this one around. I'm going to say my parents or dad always gave me advice about the things I shouldn't do in business. I always made the mistake that he said don't do anyway. So I think it's probably just to make the mistake anyway. Like it's just to keep going, basically. So keep going no matter what, because you will come through it. Just same with weight loss. Like if you're having a bad week, as long as you keep going, you will get your goal. I see it with clients all the time. It's only when you stop and give up. So I don't know if that was from a particular person, but I've kind of taken that from a lot of different coaches and things. That
fair enough.
Yeah, whatever it is you're trying to pursue, just keep going. Have that blind faith.
So, Ben, what piece of advice do you wish you'd listened to?
Oh, wish I'd listened to.
So someone told you this thing and you were like, yeah. And then, it's that thing in hindsight, you go, oh God, they were right. Should have listened.
It would be, there's probably either the two things, but they're probably kind of the same thing, which is, it's probably about one of them would be don't spend all the money that you earn, which was probably my parents saying that. Make sure you save some money. So when we kind of ran out of money and did the whole Domino's pizza thing, the reason I had no money left was because I'd spent all of it on cars, holidays, just like gone, wasted. So save some of your money would be one piece of advice I wish I'd listened to. And another one would be like with workouts and training would be don't try and do too much too fast, because every time I've ever done that, I've ended up injured, and then you put yourself out of action for a long period of time, and it's a real struggle to get back on track. So it's kind of both of them. Moderation is key. That would be the advice, really.
Well, that's cool advice. So Rob, when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
It was either a racing driver or a car designer, but I don't think I'm okay at the driving thing. Maybe if I had to push down that path, I'd be okay. But car design is definitely a wishful. Like I look back at the things I was drawing and look at the stuff I did when we were engineering. Some of our friends are really good car designers and engineers, and it's just, I don't know what Ben thinks about himself, but I'm definitely not actually cut out to be that.
Fair enough. What about you, Ben? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I think probably either an astronaut or a fireman, something like that. I think it was always something exciting.
So what I was waiting for was one of you to go, actually, I really wanted to be a fitness coach. But no, that obviously was a dream. That was a dream that came later,
That was never on
accidentally.
the
Me neither.
radar for
That's
either
cool.
of us, I don't think.
Okay.
I hated PE at school, and I hated sport. I was never into physical fitness. I absolutely hated it because I was awful at it, and until uni, pretty much until I was like 18.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, Ben, what do you wish you could do more of?
Climbing.
Surprise.
Very simple.
Rob, what would you like to do less of?
Oh, that's a really interesting question as well. Less procrastinating, I'd pick. It sounds like I don't even do that much. I think I have a very. It's a weird point now where we have team to do some things. So we've had all these points where you've had to work so unbelievably focused, like that you don't get distracted by anything because you just don't have time. You're like, I've got 10 phone calls with clients later. I've got a meeting this morning. I've then got to get all of this work done. And now we actually have a little bit more time and space. It's like, I'm really struggling to like have a work-life balance. I've actually thought of an even better one. Less of. I wish I did less of looking at cars and buying and selling cars. As Ben knows, I drove back from Wales on Sunday in one go, which is a massive mistake. And I already hate my car and want another car. I only bought it in January because I have a bad back. So Ben's already been through this journey. I think there was a point where you had 6 cars in a year or something. You've reined it in a bit now.
Yeah.
I'm still there. I had a good patch where I kind of stuck with it. And then, yeah, I think the only thing I tell myself is better that I'm like this with cars than with women. So I'm married. So I don't.
I'm sure they're delighted to hear that.
I'm like, so whenever I'm on my phone, this was in my wedding speech. I said, at least she knows whenever I'm on my phone scrolling, I'm not like. She's going, what are you doing on your phone? Like ignoring her. It's like, I'm not chatting to women. I'm just looking at cars on the internet.
Car porn. It's been absolutely delightful. I'm really conscious that I have to go because I've got a call with Laura. And we're going to do some goal setting, and I'm really excited about that. It's been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have too. And I get to say this for once. Whatever you do, enjoy the rest of your day.
Oh, you stole that from us.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it as well.
Good. I'm glad.